and see them. So, I say something like I'm a king, and it's like, oh, that's bullshit. That's air. No, you're a king too. You just don't know it. How do we begin to help people to reveal this unto themselves and develop resiliency and identity and self, all of these things like that? Where does this start from? What would be some of the first steps?
Life is hard work and hard work. HARD and HEART. Where the heart is, there your treasure is also. If you live a heart-driven life, that's major, because there you're going to find the things that you were chosen to do out of 400 million sperm. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. Surrender to your addiction. Continue to do it. Use the excuse, I can't help it. Oh, you can help it. If you do what is easy, stop working to be able to live the life you were chosen to live out of 400 million sperm. Your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, that is, you fight that addiction. Don't be a warrior, be a warrior. If you do what is hard, every time life knocks you down, trying to land on your back, because if you could look up, you could get up. If you do what is hard and you can do hard, your life will be easy to do the work that you were chosen to do. Your masterpiece, because you're a piece of the master. Most people are not willing to do the hard work. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Make a commitment to live from a place of power. The difference between commitment and being involved. The next time you have bacon and eggs, the chicken was involved. The pig was committed. He had to give it all up. Don't try and get off drugs. Make the commitment to get off drugs.
He was fully committed, man. That's so true. Hello and welcome to another exclusive interview by Recovery Today magazine, where first and foremost, we're a magazine hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself or a loved one, maybe you're actively in recovery many, many, many years, maybe just a few short days. Maybe you know that you need to be in recovery. You're going to find all kinds of topics related to addiction recovery and really living a happy, successful, and sober life at Recovery Today. Rob Hanley, the editor-in-chief, and always, with no exception, we have the best, coolest, most excellent guest. This one here, you probably might even recognize his big smiling face here. For more than 3 decades, he has been an author and one of the world's most renowned motivational and keynote speakers, holding audiences of more than 80,000 people from Denmark to Dubai, Canada to the Caribbean. Audiences energized, mesmerized, and sometimes left spellbound. My guest today is the one, the only Les Brown. Thank you for jumping on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be able to be in the presence of greatness. And I want to congratulate you and the work that you're doing and the magazine. Recovery Magazine, as you know, it gives people hope. And when there's hope in the future, it gives you power in the present.
I love that. Thank you. I have to just interject at Recovery Today magazine. We got to put the today in there.
Okay, good. Recovery Today magazine. Not yesterday or tomorrow, but Recovery Today up in here.
Right, because we live in the present. We live in the present. We don't talk about so good, so good, so good. Well, one of the first things, I have been one of your energetic audience, members. I can think very fondly of a big event, a whole bunch of speakers in Vancouver, BC. I think back in I was like probably 2002 or something like that. And you just killed it. You just slayed everybody in the audience. We were just going to go out and just, take names. It was so good. So I love your story. We love stories. We love rocky stories. We love stories of overcoming adversity. Nobody's interested in trust fund babies that never did any kind of anything. and don't do much. Because we get knocked down, or maybe we start from modest or simple means, or the odds are stacked against us. These are the stories that we like because we think, man, well, we can do it too. This is what happens in recovery meetings. But one of the things I've never really heard any part of your recovery story. I've heard, obviously about becoming your story about I'm hungry and becoming a disc jockey and all the kind of stuff. I still, from 20 years ago, I still remember I'm hungry. You got to be hungry. So I guess that's kind of my first question. We've introed you for maybe the stray person that's lived on the moon or under a rock or crawled out of a cave. Tell us a little bit of, give us the nitty gritty and how did you become, who you are today, and how does recovery fit into who you are, Les?
Well, first of all, I think that I was very blessed with someone with a similar personality like you. I think that the work that you're doing is what I call the can helps it, that as much as you have chosen to do this work, you were chosen to do this work. And when I look at my life, because of people like you that interrupted my story, how people live their lives as a result of the story they believe about themselves. I was born in a poor section of Miami, Florida called Liberty City, an abandoned building with my twin brother that is now with me. He'd been married for 50 years and 6 months, and his wife made her transition about 30 days ago. And so I went and got him. I said, hey, we haven't been together since we were 20. Here we are, 78, and we're back together again. And you're not going to get out of my sight. No. He's 5 minutes older than me. He went out first. I heard a slap and he yelled. I came out, hey, what's going on? And they pulled me out.
Oh, man, that's great.
Yes. And so Wesley, we were born together in a poor section of Miami, Florida called Liberty City. At the time we were in our mother's stomach. She went to Jackson Memorial Hospital. Our father drove her there. And at that time, they were not accepting Black people in Jackson Memorial Hospital. So she was in labor and they saw this abandoned building and they went in and gave birth to us on the floor. And then Mrs. Mamie Brown, whenever I give a speech, I said, God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed us in the heart of our adopted mother. So several people came, wanted to adopt us separately, but my mother insisted, no, I want someone who will adopt both of them. And so Mamie Brown showed up. And I always say, this has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy at the end of my speeches, that Dorothy Bell Rucker, which I just found out at 71, was our birth mother. But Mamie Brown, when I look at her, Dorothy Bell Rucker gave us life, but Mamie Brown taught us how to live life. And so she adopted us. And when I was in school, I was the problem twin. I was labeled educable, mentally retarded, and put back from the 5th grade into the 4th grade. Fell again when I was
backwards, not just you didn't go forwards, they put you backwards.
That's right. Put me back. Yeah. Say, no, he need to be back there with the dodos, And so I had this teacher when I was a junior in high school, went to summer school every year. Your kind of personality. He asked me to do something. I was in his room looking for someone. He said, young man, go to the board and I want you to perform something for me. And I said, sir, I can't do that. He said, why not? I said, I'm not one of your students. I'm here looking for MacArthur Stevens. He said, do what I'm asking you to do anyhow. I said, sir, I can't do it. And the other students started laughing, saying, he's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley's smart, but he's DT. He's the dumb twin. And he looked at me and I said, I am, sir. And as they erupted in laughter, he came from behind his desk and he said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Do you hear me? And I said, yes, sir. Now, mama said, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. That's not true. Words can hurt and can hurt very deeply. Words are pregnant with all types of toxic energy when you speak them. And so he interrupted my story about myself. And I've been on this trail of discovering and working and expanding my vision of myself and thinking about the play Lion King, Simba, you're more than that which you have become. So even at 78, I feel that my best is yet to be done. The rest of my life will be the best of my life.
I love that. How do we, as humans, I think our brain, maybe for safety or whatever it is, we feel like we got to categorize, and this person's like this, or this is that, or this is this. We categorize everything, right? And I love what this angel, this guardian angel appeared from the Lord, I would say, and spoke those words into you. How do we overcome these negative, pregnant, as you said, they give birth to parasites, I would say, in our spirit and our emotion? How do we eject these to really I'm on the journey to really discover who I am. And I think that I have discovered it. And thank you so much, by the way, for the affirmation and kind words, because yeah, that's what I really feel. But how do we do this to where we can forgive and let go and say, no, that's not who I am?
You've done it already in a variety of areas of your life. We're taught, choose ye this day whom ye shall serve. We have the power at any time. And I think about Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. There's a dimension and a part of us as he was going through the inexpressible cruelties of Nazism. There's a part of us, the irreducible essence of who we are, that nothing can touch. And in that place of power that I call it, we have the ability to take a stand with our life. They have the ability to choose to allow the past, our history, to govern how we move forward in life, or to choose to let go or be dragged. And so when we choose, we make decisions, and our decisions make us. There's something that we're taught, that if a man is to gain his life, he must lose his life. That means we must die to the things we used to do, the people that we used to hang around, the places where we used to go, and the behaviors that we used to be involved with. And we decide, hey, that's no longer me. I talk about in my book, You've Got to Be Hungry, how to make it against all odds.
No
And
wonder I remember that so much. You got to be, I still just love it. You got to be hungry.
yes, yes. I talk about something in there that I'd never shared before. During the time that I was being treated for 4th stage cancer, I had to take 25 pills a day, 3 times a day. That's 75 pills. And I remember going to my youngest daughter's house, and my second oldest son was in the back seat with me. He had to come rescue me from Chicago, took me to Columbus. And I said, why are all these cars here? He said, you'll see when you get in. So when I got into the house, my kids were there. My mentor, Mike Williams, who wrote the book, The Road to Your Best Stuff. This is a guy who saw this Les Brown first. And 2 people that I did not recognize. But I knew the setup. I said, hey, is this an intervention? And they said, yes. I said, oh, great. I'm the intervention genius. This is me. Who's the person? And they said, you are. Me? Yes, Dad. You are. And so my daughter said, Dad, you taught us you can't read the label when you're locked in the box. You're on 75 pills a day. She said, you're a drug addict. She said, there are 2 types of drug addicts, one who seek drugs and one who's prescribed drugs. You have been prescribed drugs. I said, you called me a drug addict? I'm just doing what they told me to do. Dad, you're Les Brown. And if you require more more pills for the pain that you're experiencing, you have the communication skills to sell them on. You need it. And you've done that. We've been watching you. This is not you, Daddy. And you need some help. You teachers ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong, and ask for help. And don't stop until you get it. And the two people that are here are going to drive you from Columbus to Toledo to enroll you into a drug program. You'll be there for several months. I went to each one of my kids. I said, I taught you not to drink or not to smoke. Do you think I'm a drug addict? Look at me. My oldest son, yes, Dad. My second oldest son, yes, Dad. My older daughter, yes, Dad. Yes. Go with them. They can help you to get off these drugs. This is bigger than you. And I looked at the couple and they said, we'll come and get you in the morning. I said, no. When I looked at my mentor, Mike Williams, and I said, do you believe, Mike? You saw me before I saw myself and helped me go from being a disc jockey to change lives. He said, Brownie, I'm with the family. I'm with the family. I'm sorry, man. I'm with the family. You need to go. So I told them, you need to take me tonight, because if you come in the morning, I promise you, I will not be here. And so they drove me from Toledo. It must have been about 12 degrees in the heart of winter. They drove me from Columbus to Toledo. When I got there, I had to undress completely. I was crying, I was angry, and I was in disbelief. I was saying to myself, I can't believe that this is happening to me. They gave me a set of pajamas and they took me to a room. They put me in a room, and I sometimes suffer from claustrophobia. I tried to open the door and I couldn't open the door. And man, that got me, and I couldn't open the window. And so I was up all night saying, Les, how did you get here? Asking myself, how did you get here? And I often say, wherever you find yourself, at some point in time, you made an appointment to be there.
Mm.
And so the next morning, Rob, when we had to go down to breakfast, people doing double takes. Hey, you look like Les Brown, that guy who talked about you got to be hungry. I said, yes, I am. Hey, man, I'm here because of you. Why are you here? My children say I'm a drug addict. So when they had the session where they had to give lectures, people had to set up and say hello. They give their name and say, I'm a drug addict. I just couldn't say it, Rob. So I said, hello, my name is Les Brown. Everybody looked. And then I started giving a list of the drugs that I had been taking. And they said, damn, he was on the big horse. So after that session, I went into the director's office. I said, listen, you don't know me, but the people in there, they know me. I'm not a drug addict. I was prescribed drugs. The people in there, they were seeking drugs. And he said to me, Mr. Brown, every addict has a story. Let me tell you something. He said, you're a drug addict. There was a phone on his table. I don't know where he got that phone from, but I was going to hit him in the head with it for calling me a drug addict. And fortunately, his assistant, she knew me. She said, Mr. Brown, please don't hit him with that. Trouble is easy to get into, but hard to get out. Please, sir, don't hit him with that phone. We will have to call the police on you for assault and battery. And so I went back to my room And I came back to his office and he said, "What do you want now?" He thought I was coming back to get him. I thought about it, but I said, I took the phone. I said, "I need to make a call." I called my son and I said, "Come get me." He said, "Dad, we paid for you to be there for 3 months or 6 months." I said, "Did you hear me?" I said, it's 10 or 12 degrees outside. I said, "Come get me. I'm not going to do this." And so he came to get me. And the director said, "Don't worry, he'll be back. He's 70 years old. He thinks he can go cold turkey. He won't be able to do it. He'll be back." And so I had them to come get me. We argued all the way back to Columbus. I went and stayed with a friend. I said, "Can I go in your basement? Is there something that I can lay on in your basement?" I said, "I'm very upset with my children now. They think that I'm a drug addict." And she said, "Sure. I have a couch down there you can let out." And Rob, I don't suggest anybody do this. I started having dry heaves. And she would ask, "Are you all right?" And sometimes I would pass out and I regurgitate about 25 or 27 times. They took me to urgent care. The sixth time she took me, I remember the doctor saying on the other side of the curtain, "We don't believe he's going to make it."
Wow.
And I prayed to my mother, my biological mother, and my adopted mother. I said, "Mama, Mamie Brown, I've never asked you for anything before. Please give me the strength. Please talk to God or somebody to help me get through this. Dorothy Bell Rucker, I've never seen anything but a picture of you. I've never asked you for anything. You've done good by us by giving us to Mamie Brown. I'm asking for your help too. Please help me." And after that prayer, I started those dry heaves again. I did it most of the night. And at some point in time, I passed out again. And I woke up and I didn't have the dry heaves. From that day to this day, I had not had the interruption in my breathing and my body. From that day to this day, the cravings. I was upset because they wanted to put me on a drug called Suboxone. Yes, and the people in the drug program said, "Mr. Brown, you help me, so let me help you." Suboxone is a drug, and it's more difficult to get off that than the drugs that you're already on. I said, "Excuse me, you're saying that they're putting me on another drug to get off the drugs that I'm on?" I said, "Thank you for saying that to me. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to take another prescribed drug." So I refused to do it. They sent me to a psychiatrist. I went one time and, pardon me, and she suggested Suboxone. I say, "I'm not doing that." I said, "I will get off this. I'm going to do it." And they said, "It's mind over matter." No, it's mind over mind. I started talking to myself over and over again, rocking. I could do this. Greater is he than in me than he that's in the world. I can do this. It will not break me. I will break it. I can do this. I can do it. God, give me the strength. Give me the strength. I can do this. I can do this. I remember in Lion King, "Simba, you're more than that which you have become." I said, "I'm stronger than this drug. than this craving. I can do this. And I did. I don't suggest anybody do it the way I did it because I'm a different kind of animal. I was hungry to get over those drugs that they had fed me. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Nobody would ever describe me as somebody that's at a loss for words. I almost don't know what to say. I've only heard one other story of somebody that did cold turkey. And I expected in the story, not knowing your story, I expected that you were going to go back to the treatment center and, the guy was right. And so the first thing I can say is you, through, I would actually even submit through the Holy Spirit, a source, higher power, whatever your belief is, you in your lifetime have been used the same way a carpenter uses a hammer to build a house. You have been used as a tool to help others move forward in their life. That's how I see you. I see you as a valuable tool that you have been inspired with words that have been so eloquent and the kind of things that people remember. And they, because of your words and what you have said, their lives are better and improved. And where I'm going with this is I'm just spellbound to hear your recovery story, because once I asked my brother, and I've said this many, many times on many interviews because I'm all about credit where credit due. I asked him one time, what is the purpose? I texted him, what is the purpose of life? Why? I always try to figure this out. Why are we here? What's we supposed to do? He texted me back to give confidence to others. That's all that he said. And it was immediate. And I'm thinking, what the hell kind of answer is that to give confidence? But I started thinking about it.
We teach that which we need most.
Yes. And so I realized, and now I've written about it, spoken about it, and I feel compelled to interject this into our conversation, that in order to truly, authentically give confidence to others, you have to be tried by fire. You have to come out the other side. And so I think of how, I'll say how the Lord has used you over the years to improve the lives of others, but never in this dimension, never in this dimension. And so you having Les Brown, being Les Brown, it'd be one thing if this happened when you were a kid before you're Les Brown, but like you being who you are and having this dimension and this story, God, like this will save lives. Like literally it'll say, people knowing this, it will save lives. So I'm really kind of at a loss. I've got a whole bunch of questions and things like that, but I have to ask because it's so unique with all of these hundreds of books behind you and 3 books a month that you told me in pre-roll, that you read, and just these things pop out that your mind. What are your thoughts in terms of all of the stuff that you have compiled, with anything that is unique perhaps about this struggle, this battle that you have had with recovery or with addiction? I would say this monkey on the back type of thing, because I know that there's all kinds of things that you would have pulled in, and then you have your unique Les Brown sauce somewhere in there, all over the place.
I think it's in all of us. I have a young man that I trained at this stage of my life. T.D. Jakes said, there's no success without successors. Or I train speakers. And one of the people that I've trained, and Dwight Pleasure, I wrote the forward for it. He wrote a book called The Big Lie. He would be a good person for you to interview.
Sure.
He's a very successful real estate person. He was married and had children. And he went to a friend's house, and a friend was smoking crack. And he said, hey, man, why don't you try it, Dwight? And Dwight took a hit. And Dwight said to himself, I can handle this. I can handle this. And he ultimately realized that was a big lie. He lost his wife and children. his home, his cars, everything that he had accumulated, and was walking like a madman among the other crack addicts and sleeping in empty buildings. And he had a moment just like I did. He thought about his family, and he called his sister. He said, "Pray for me. Pray for me. I want my wife and children back again. I want the life that I once lived." And she prayed for him. And when he let the phone go, he hit the floor and cried out to the only God he had. He said, "Please help me overcome this." And his friends in that crack house, they had some crack and they were passing around. And he took another hit and he said, "I'm through. We make decisions and our decisions make us." And they thought perhaps that he was through for the day. But he said, "I'm through." And what he said was that's the end of his life living as an addict. He called his sister and asked, "Please send somebody to come get me." And he was standing on the corner where he told his sister he would be. And his wife came turning around the corner in an old beat up car that he left her with 7 years prior to that, and tooted the horn and said, "Come on in, Dwight." And he leaned over and kissed her like he was away for a weekend trip.
Hmm.
And they went on to be together for another 34 years before she passed earlier this year. When you get to a point in yourself where you look, as Michael Jackson said, at the man in the mirror, and the person that's looking back at you is not who you thought you were, that you begin to say, "I've had it." That's the only time people stop anything, when they leave a marriage where they're dying together rather than living together. "I've had it." Where they're working on a job, they're being paid just enough to keep it from being fired, and pay you just enough to keep you from quitting. You say, "I've had it." When you've been doing drugs and you've burned all the bridges that you have, and there's nowhere for you to retreat except within yourself, and you look at yourself and you say, "This is not me. I've had it." And that's where I was. An "I've had it" moment, and made a decision that this was not going to be my future. Abraham Lincoln said, "My future is bright." And people ask him, "How do you know that?" And he said, "Because I'm going to create it." I knew my future would not be bright, continuing to take the drugs that had been prescribed for me. I knew that I had to deal with the pain. Sciatica pain was
Mm,
major. Do you hear me?
mm.
And then the pain from fourth stage cancer. And so I knew that there was something in me, that's in all of us, that we have to go through pain to get through it. That many times in life you will be faced with what I call an insurmountable mountain, brilliantly disguised as a problem and challenge. But you have the power in you to climb that mountain. You have the power in you to go around it or through it or under it.
Mm.
And you're going to go through some stuff, but that that disruptive area of your life is pregnant with possibilities. In the Chinese language, they said crises means danger, but it also means opportunity.
I
That
love that. Oh my God, I love that, man.
Yes. And so these crises that we're going through, these disruptive areas of life that we're all experiencing nationally and globally, demands transformation. It's pregnant with possibilities of what we can do now, and the choices we make to stop turning against each other and turn to each other,
Yes.
and and stand united to create a better future. I believe that we
We're
were
all
born.
connected. We're all
Yes,
connected, man. I think that there's a
yes.
tiny group of people that get every. It's like somebody puts black ants and red ants in a jar, and they're fine until you shake them up. And there's rabble rousers that do it for their own benefit, man, and the war and this and that and the other, and it's all the. Anyhow, I don't want to go down like that kind of trail, but one of the things I have to say, because it's so profound about the mountain and the Chinese proverb, is I texted a friend of mine the other day. I've had this series of revelations in my own growth over the last, I don't know, the last year or so. And I have come to think of myself, and this goes for everybody, okay? So I'm not thinking that I'm any more special than anybody else, but I've come to think of myself as I am a king. What I see around me is my kingdom. All that I surveil, type of stuff, right? And then I started wondering, like, why is there evil, and why is there this, and why is there obstacles, and why is there challenges and stuff? And I've taken to a Bible verse. We're not a Christian magazine, but I never make it a secret. I'm a Christian. I read the Bible. Whatever source a higher power is for you, totally cool with me. But there's a verse in the Bible that says we are more than conquerors, right? So then I realized, I thought, well, the Lord he put like obstacles and bad stuff so that we have something to do, like kind of, well, how useful is a warrior if there's nothing to conquer, man? Like, it's like the whole, like, the mountain is there so I can climb the mountain, type of stuff. So I just love that, man. I just
Well,
love that.
the Jewish carpenter said when he was demanded and they wanted to know, when shall the kingdom of God come? He said, the kingdom of God cometh not by observation. They shall say, it's neither lo here, lo there. Behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Well, you can't have a kingdom without a king. And so we're called to master the kingdom in us. And when we live our lives from the inside out and not buy into the distractions of the world, be ye not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes.
We begin to lock arms to push humanity forward. We begin to realize that we're here to live a life that will outlive us and to make our mark.
How do people, we are so, man, it's just, I'm so dopamine firing all over my brain because I'm like, oh my God, like, it's just so good. How so resilience, okay? And how do people begin? It's so profound to me that you being Les Brown, and it's egregious to me, like the doctor, but I can't be a drug addict. The doctor's giving me pills. Well, there's a zillion, that's how it happens. Like, so many stories, my kid, or I fell off a ladder or something like that. And it starts with, oh yeah, take these. But I'm wondering, you already had a lot of the tools of your identity. What about somebody that's still very shaky on their identity, and they're, maybe they give a kind of a quote, a biblical kind of thing, I'm the least of my clan, my clan's the least to everybody. Who the hell am I, man? I live in a trailer park, my granny's an addict, or whatever it might be, how meager the situation. How do people begin to develop their true identity and see them? So, I say something like, I'm a king, and it's like, oh, that's bullshit. That's air. No, you're a king too. You just don't know it. How do we begin to help people to reveal this unto themselves and develop resiliency and identity and self, all of these things like that? Where does this start from? What would be some of the first steps?
Life is hard work and hard work. HARD and HEART. Where the heart is, there your treasure is also. If you live a heart-driven life, that's major, because there you're going to find the things that you were chosen to do out of 400 million sperm. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. Surrender to your addiction. Continue to do it. Use the excuse, I can't help it. Oh, you can help it. If you do what is easy, stop working to be able to live the life you were chosen to live out of 400 million sperm. Your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, that is, you fight that addiction. Don't be a warrior, be a warrior. If you do what is hard, every time life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you could look up, you could get up. If you do what is hard and you can do hard, your life will be easy to do the work that you were chosen to do. Your masterpiece, because you're a piece of the master. Most people are not willing to do the hard work. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Make a commitment to live from a place of power. The difference between commitment and being involved. The next time you have bacon and eggs, the chicken was involved. The pig was committed. He had to give it all up. Don't try and get off drugs. Make the commitment to get off drugs.
He was fully committed, man. That's so true. So what? So we overcome obstacles in our mind. Everybody hopes, I would think, for a better life and station and position and trappings and all of the things like that. How is recovery different or any different than that? Like maybe in terms of misconceptions, there is something like you're very contrary, people pull yourself up by the bootstraps, just stop. How is this battle different, or maybe in some ways even similar to overcoming other adversity in our lives? What kind of things have you discovered that may be different about this, or perhaps require a little different perspective than otherwise?
Life is not that complicated to me. I believe that everything that we do, it boils down to an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have something that we have to overcome, something that we have to deal with. Think it not strange that you're faced the fiery furnaces of this world. And we always have available to us in the midst of the storm to make a decision. We make decisions, and our decisions make us. And so through all the dry heaves, I kept saying to myself, I'm going to get through this. Through losing consciousness and taken to ER and my body gripped with pain, I kept saying, I'm going to get through this. I made a decision I was not going to go on Suboxone. I made a decision I was not going to put any more drugs in my body, even though I was in pain. And cytokine is nothing to play with. I made a decision when they told me that cancer had eaten the 43% of my T1 vertebrae and metastasized in 7 areas of my body. I said, wait a minute. I said, 7 is my lucky number. And Dr. Alfred Golson looked at me like I was crazy. What do you mean? I said, I'm one of 7 children. I was born February the 17th. Joshua marched around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Naaman dipped himself in the river Jordan 7 times. And you tell me that cancer's metastasized to 7 areas of my body? Listen to me. I'm not a warrior. I'm a warrior. And that's a sign that I got this. And so what I love what he said, I never tell my patients they're terminal. What I say is that my knowledge and my skills have terminated. Now it's you and God to determine your prognosis. I just give you the diagnosis, and a diagnosis is not a verdict.
No, it is not a verdict. It is an opinion, I would say, or what we currently see now. I don't even like labels. In fact, the C word, I don't even use that C word in my house. I don't.
Yeah, we call it the little C.
I love that. Yes. That doesn't even surprise me. I'm going to have to adopt that, the little C. I just say, no, we don't talk about that. We don't think about that. We don't bring it out. I don't want any kind of awareness. Live a healthy life. That's not part of a chapter overall in my story, is not that. How do we, what are your thoughts kind of then? And we don't care. Recovery Today, we're 12-step, non-12-step, where whatever it works for you. The Lord spoke to me, whatever it would be. We featured everybody. As long as you're living a happy, successful, sober life, that we applaud you. It makes no difference. What are your thoughts on the tradition, more of the traditional stuff? And I don't want to attack the traditional people, so don't throw rock. You know, if you're one of those people, don't throw rocks. But one of the things I hear quite often is people saying they don't like the label. I am an alcoholic. I am this. I am a drug. What are your thoughts on the labeling, if I will?
Well, I agree. The
Traditional.
Bible says death and life is in the tongue. Thou shalt decree a thing and it shall be established unto you. That's why I couldn't go to the sessions and claim that we want to claim what we want, not what we don't want.
Yes.
Words are very powerful. Words begin to show up in your life and manifest in a variety of ways. So I think it's very important that we pay attention to what we say. And I believe the reason that the book of life says death and life is in the tongue, because we speak more death than we do life. And as we look at ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, what are we telling ourselves? That the conversations we have of ourselves, our self-explanatory style has to be interrupted. And this is why people should be reading Recovery Today, to interrupt the programming, to interrupt the culture that we have been institutionalized to believe in, to interrupt the negative self-talk that causes us to live a life that's not us, and that we have to read something that allow us to get an expanded vision of ourselves. We have to hear voices, people who've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt.
Yes.
And they came through that Red Sea
Yes.
on the other side. That creates hope that if they can do it, I can do it. And so this is why we're here, to do the greater work, to let people, you're one decision away from a new life. One decision.
I would even submit that we use words randomly and this and that. We say things without thinking about to other. I sometimes say someone else's destiny might be one sentence away. So part of my personal mantra is I see the best in people. I bring out the best in people. I heard the story, whether true or not, about Stevie Wonder's teacher said to him when he was a little kid, you probably know that one, said, man, you have a really good ear. You'd probably be good at, probably didn't say man, but you'd probably be good at music. And like a pool ball, change the trajectory of his life. Why not do it with more intent, like with intention, man? I just love that kind of thing.
Rob, you just said something that's very profound, and I'm going to let my speakers know this, that when you speak to an audience, that they are one sentence away from your speaking that will interrupt their thinking to commit suicide.
Yes.
Suicide rate has increased among adults as well as one among our children. And so they are one sentence away from speaking to interrupt the thinking of the audience, individually and collectively, to have a larger vision of themselves, to transform them from being worriers to become warriors in their own lives and to live life victoriously.
Les, with all of your I love that, by the way. Everybody, I say, you don't have any idea. Somebody had a gun in their mouth before they went to their job at 7-Eleven this morning, man. And you're going to come up and have all that kind of attitude, like, be love. I believe that the creator, I know we're talking a lot of spiritual stuff here. I'm happy to do it, but the creator, people say, what's God? Well, God is all love. Well, if we're his children, shouldn't we be loved? Like, I want to express as much love and service to people and be uplifting as I possibly can. My question, transitioning off that, is you have led a life that everybody say, really successful. And I know you got to be still hungry, of course, but like, do you feel like you have led a successful life? And what other things might still be on Les Brown's bucket list? And what things like you might want to do with, and you got a lot of years, man. I think people
Yes,
live.
I do. I bought into something that I heard years ago. Life is either a daring adventure or it's boring. And the lady who spoke that, she was blind and she couldn't hear. Helen Keller.
Mm,
And
wow.
so I believe that we're here to make our lives a daring adventure
Mm,
and to leave the world in better shape than how we found it. Mark Twain said the two most important days in our lives, the day that we're born and the day we realize why we were born. The work that you're doing, Rob, is what I call the can't helps it. You can't help yourself. You got to do this. Rob Handy got to do this. He's got to help people know that you've got greatness in you, to
yes.
know that you are bigger than your addiction, to know the best is yet to come. And I'm
Mm.
going to keep on telling you till you behave and listen to me.
So good. Well, I don't want to stick. I know I'm not watching time. I don't want to stick the landing just yet because I told you how long is it going to be? He says, as long as I can keep you. But thank you, because I really a bit, like I said, really thinking about what's my purpose in this, and the ability to actually try. I think that ultimately it's all about service. How can we help other people, man? That's what's going to make you
Yes.
feel good. So
When you live a servant-driven life, the greatest among you will be your servant.
yes,
Thanks. Life takes on a whole new meaning. It
yes,
really is that more of thee, less of me. I'm here as your ambassador and ambassadress to serve you, Lord.
yeah.
More of thee and less of me.
Out of all the books I see in the background there, what are some, and I guess you could include your own too, but like, what are some of the books, maybe top, I don't ever like to say number one because it's hard for people, but like, what are some of the top books that have had a profound impact in molding and shaping you, or giving you the perspective to mold and shape yourself? Or maybe it actually, I'll even say
Oh, I
to,
can tell you right now.
yes,
Number one is Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning.
big one.
Number two is Mike Williams, my mentor's book, The Road to Your Best Stuff. The Road to Your Best Stuff. And three, You Gotta Be Hungry by Les Brown. Yes.
Oh,
I
your own
wrote
book.
that from the experiences that I have gone through. And I know that God is not through with me yet.
What's he got in store for you? What's down the road, do we figure? You've done so
Training, training speakers. What I do now
yeah.
is train speakers how to tell their story, and not just tell their story, make their story strategically the audience's story on how they did what they did to go across the Red Seas in their life,
Hmm.
and to create an experience with their story. The other speakers, they give information about Think and Grow Rich. Good book. But if information could change people, everybody will be skinny, rich, and happy. So now I train speakers how to create an experience, a significant emotional event with their story that take that audience to a place in themselves that they can't go by themselves, and they make a decision to live out of their imagination rather than their history. That's what I'm going to do until I leave here many years from now.
Many from now, many years from now, many years from now. If you could travel back in time and tell your younger self anything at all, would you tell yourself? Is there something, or would you, not interrupt
Oh,
the?
absolutely. Yes, I would say you are enough.
Mm,
For years, I didn't do what I'm doing because I don't have a college education. And I was labeled educable mentally retarded, and I believed it. And so I lived from that place, a very limited, small life. You can't fit a big dream into a small mind. And so once this teacher shared with me, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. We
yes.
need to label jars, not people. You have greatness in you. That began to expand my vision of myself, of what's possible.
Well, I decree and declare that you and I shall be friends for the remainder of whoever's first lives, because Les Brown is somebody, not only through your wonderful books, your incredible, inspiring talks, but you are somebody, you got to, you, what is it, the top 5 people you to become like that. And I want to be more like you. You have so many wonderful qualities that I just want to absorb and amplify and magnify. And so I just put you on notice, man. We're going to be friends. You know, when I tell people if we lived near each other, we'd be barbecuing together all the time.
You are my brother from another mother. So
Yes.
come on, let's
Yes,
finish
yes.
life together.
And to get back, I guess, to start to stick the landing and land the plane here, people go to lesbrown.com. Where should they go to follow you on social? How should that be?
Yeah, if they're interested in my one-on-one coaching, they can go to lesbrown.com. lesbrown77@gmail.com. lesbrown77@gmail.com and say, coach me. Okay. And we'll let them know about our coaching program. And they can also go into our online course by going to lesbrown.com.
So good. I am so looking forward to seeing what evolves in your story over the years. I took note of how amazing of a storyteller you are. And actually, you did involve me in your own story, man. I'm thinking, yeah, that's me. I could do that. Yeah, like, that's typical Les Brown, man. So good. And now a recovery aspect to it is, what last words would you tell somebody? Maybe they're struggling themselves or wondering if they could do it, or they have a loved one. As we land the plane finally here, what words might you impart to somebody at the end here before we pull the curtain?
What has dropped in my spirit, something that Jim Rohn said. He said, live your life from a different place. He said, your life can be a warning or an example, a warning of what not to do, or an example of what to do. And at the end of the day, decide that you're going to live from the thinking of Henry David Thoreau. Do not go where the path may lead, go where there's no path and leave a trail. Make an impact. Live the life you love and love the life you live. Make an impact. That's what I would say, my brother.
And with that, we rate that a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Stuck the landing a 10.
Thank you.
Les Brown, LESBROWN.com. If you're thinking, man, I think I want to be a speaker. I think I want to have impact like that. Then you need to get connected to the master who teaches masters about storytelling and reaching and connecting with people, because you can feel what happens every time this guy talks. And now a dimension to it. There are people that are waiting for your story. So get back to him. lesbrown.com. Privilege and an honor. Very excited. I'm going to have I was already having a good day, but now I don't even know what. Just look out. So this has been another fun, great interview. My new friend, Les Brown, and this is a wrap.